Okay, so picture this. You're working from your laptop, but instead of your boring old desk, you're on a beach somewhere, sipping a coconut. You know, living the dream.
That's the digital nomad life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's getting more and more popular. And guess what? It's not just for tech people anymore. Companies need all kinds of skills these days.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about this guide we're looking at today. It really highlights all the different skills that can be done remotely.
So we're talking about like writing, design, marketing?
Even teaching.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, that sounds awesome. But what skills do I actually have that would work for this?
Well, the first step is to really take stock of what you're good at and what you enjoy doing.
Right.
This guide emphasizes that transferable skills are key.
So, like if you're a good writer, maybe you could be a content creator.
Exactly. Or if you're organized and good with numbers, maybe a remote finance gig would be a good fit.
I love that. Okay, so we figured out what we're good at. What's next? How do we get noticed? You need a killer portfolio.
Ah, yes. The good old portfolio.
Or think of it like your digital storefront.
So it's like my online resume.
Yeah.
But way more visual and dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we actually putting in this portfolio?
Your best work. The pieces that show off your skills and what makes you unique.
Should I include everything I've ever done?
No. Just the best stuff. This guide actually suggests focusing on case studies where you walk through a problem you solved, the approach you took, and the results.
That's a great idea. So it's not just about showing what I've done, it's about showing what I can do.
Exactly. And platforms like Behance for designers or GitHub for coders make it super easy for people to find you.
Okay, my digital storefront is looking good.
Yeah.
Now what? There are tons of people out there with awesome portfolios and skills. How do I stand out?
Niching down.
Niching down, what does that mean?
It means becoming an expert in a specific area. So instead of being a jack of all trades, you're the go-to person for a particular thing.
I see. So like instead of just being a writer, I could be a health and wellness writer.
Exactly. Or an e-commerce SEO specialist, or a financial copywriter. The possibilities are endless.
That makes sense.
Okay.
My niche is nailed down. Where do I actually find these digital nomad jobs?
There are a ton of online platforms that are dedicated to remote work.
Like what?
Well, this guide mentions remote.co and We Work Remotely.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those. What about sites like Upwork and Freelancer?
Those are great for freelancers.
Perfect. Okay. I've found some awesome job postings. Now it's interview time. Any tips on how to rock a remote interview?
Well, first of all, you got to make sure your tech is on point.
Right. No lagging internet or fuzzy video.
Exactly. And make sure your background is professional and that you're dressed appropriately.
It's still a job interview, even if it's from your living room.
Exactly. This guide also stresses the importance of showcasing your remote work strategies.
So talk about how I manage my time and stay organized?
Yes, and how you communicate effectively when working across time zones.
Got it. And don't forget to ask insightful questions.
Yes. That shows that you're genuinely interested in the company and that you've done your homework.
Awesome. So we've covered identifying skills, crafting a killer portfolio, finding our niche, navigating job platforms, and acing those remote interviews. Phew, we've come a long way.
We have.
But before we dive into the exciting world of choosing destinations and embracing the digital nomad lifestyle, we need to talk about something super important: staying organized.
Yes, because when your office can be anywhere, things can get chaotic quickly.
So true. What are some tips for staying organized as a digital nomad?
This guide recommends project management platforms like Trello or Asana.
I love Trello. It's like a digital to-do list.
Exactly. And you can use it to collaborate with others, too.
Nice. And what about time management?
This guide highlights tools like Toggle, which can track your hours and help you stay productive.
So even though we're chasing freedom, we still need some structure.
Exactly.
Okay, this is all great stuff.
Yeah.
But before we move on to the exciting world of choosing destinations, remember that mind-blowing tip I teased earlier about how the remote world is changing?
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that later.
We'll be back after a quick break to explore the exciting world of digital nomad destinations.
Okay, so we've got our skills sharpened, our portfolio is sparkling, and we're ready to say goodbye to the cubicle. But how do we actually choose where to go?
Right. The world is our oyster now.
It is. But choosing the right location is about more than just finding a pretty beach.
Yeah, it needs to be practical too.
Exactly. This guide really emphasizes that. You need to find a balance between work-life bliss and practicality.
So, what are some of the top things we should be thinking about?
Well, first things first, reliable internet access.
Oh, yeah, that's a must.
Absolutely. You can't build a business or meet deadlines if your Wi-Fi is constantly cutting out.
Makes sense.
Fine.
So do your research and find co-working spaces or cafes with good internet.
Exactly. Or invest in a portable Wi-Fi hotspot.
Good tip. What else?
Cost of living is another big one. Some places are way more expensive than others.
Right. And you need to factor in how long you plan to stay in each place.
Exactly. And don't forget about visa requirements.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Some countries offer specific visas for digital nomads.
So it's like planning a regular trip, but with a work twist.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got the internet, budget visas, all the practical stuff covered. What about the social side of things?
Yeah. How do we find our people?
This guide talks a lot about the importance of community. It's so important to connect with other nomads, especially when you're far from your usual support network.
So where do we find these amazing people?
Co-working spaces are a great place to start.
Yeah, I can see that. Everyone's working on their own thing, but there's also a sense of camaraderie.
Exactly. You can bounce ideas off each other, get feedback, share tips, and even collaborate on projects.
I love that. What about outside of co-working spaces?
This guide suggests checking out websites and apps like Nomad List and Meetup.
Oh, yeah. Those are great resources for finding events and connecting with people.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's about finding a place that supports our work, but also our social life.
Exactly.
This is also inspiring. It's amazing to think that we can work from anywhere in the world.
It is, but it's not always easy.
Oh, yeah. What are some of the challenges of being a digital nomad?
Loneliness and isolation can be tough.
Especially if you're used to being around people all the time.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
why building a community is so important.
And what about feeling homesick?
That's definitely a challenge.
What can we do about that?
Staying connected with loved ones is key. Make time for video calls, send photos and updates, let them know you're thinking about them.
And technology can really help with that.
It can. What about unexpected challenges?
Like what?
Flight cancellations, sudden illnesses, cultural differences, things like that.
Yeah, those things can definitely throw a wrench in your plans.
They can. This guide emphasizes the importance of being adaptable and resourceful.
So roll with the punches.
Exactly. Have a plan B, and maybe even a plan C.
Good advice. Okay, so we've talked about the amazing opportunities that come with being a digital nomad, and we've talked about some of the challenges. What about staying ahead of the curve?
Oh, yeah. That's a big one. The remote work world is constantly changing.
So how do we make sure we're not left behind?
Continuous learning is key.
So like taking online courses.
Exactly. Reading industry blogs, attending webinars, things like that.
It's about staying curious and always being willing to learn new things.
Exactly.
Okay. This has been so insightful. I'm feeling really inspired to take the leap.
That's great. But before you pack your bags, remember to start with your why.
My why.
What are your values? What kind of work do you want to do? What kind of lifestyle do you want to create?
So figure out what I want before I figure out how to get it.
Exactly.
Okay, so once I've got my why figured out, what's next?
Then you can start researching destinations and job opportunities that align with your goals.
Okay, so it's not just about finding any remote job. It's about finding the right remote job for me.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And don't be afraid to reach out to other digital nomads for advice.
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea. They've been there, done that.
Exactly.
Okay, this is all so exciting. But it can also feel a bit overwhelming. Where do I even begin?
Just take it one step at a time. The most important thing is to start.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about finding the perfect remote job, choosing our dream destinations, and navigating the challenges of digital nomad life. Now what?
Now we dive into the exciting world of freelancing and entrepreneurship.
Ooh, I can't wait. Let's do it. Okay, so we've talked about finding the perfect remote job and choosing our dream destinations. But what if the traditional 9-to-5, even a remote one, isn't really your thing?
That's where freelancing and entrepreneurship come in.
Ooh, yeah, being your own boss.
Exactly. And this guide actually highlights it as a great option for digital nomads, especially if you're someone who really values freedom and flexibility.
Okay, so where do we start if we're thinking about going freelance?
Well, it all starts with your niche.
Back to the niche.
Yeah. What are you really good at? What problems can you solve for clients? What makes you stand out?
So it's all about identifying those unique skills and experiences that we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And then it's time to show them off.
With that awesome portfolio.
Exactly. Your portfolio becomes your digital storefront when you're freelancing.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
how do we actually find clients?
Freelance platforms are a game changer.
Like Upwork and Freelancer.
Exactly.
How do those work?
They're basically online marketplaces.
Uh.
Clients post projects, And freelancers, like, you can bid on them.
Okay, so I create a profile that highlights my skills and experience, and then I can browse projects and see if there's a good fit.
Exactly.
And as I complete projects and get good reviews, I can start charging more.
Exactly. It's all about building your reputation.
That sounds awesome. But freelancing has its own challenges.
Right.
Of course. It's not all sunshine and roses.
What are some of the things we should be prepared for?
Well, this guide really stresses the importance of self-discipline and organization. When you're freelancing, you're your own boss.
So no more slacking off.
Pretty much. You're responsible for finding clients, managing your time, and making sure everything gets done.
That's a lot to handle.
It is, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
I can see that. What about people who want to take it a step further?
You mean start their own business?
Well, the good news is that the internet has made it easier than ever to start and run a business from anywhere in the world.
So I can literally run my business from a beach in Bali.
You could.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
But where do I even begin?
This guide emphasizes the importance of validating your business idea first.
What does that mean?
It means making sure there's actually a need for what you're offering. Do your research, identify your target audience, make sure there's a market for your product or service.
So passion isn't enough.
Passion is great,
Yeah.
but it needs to be backed up by a solid business plan.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So I've got my idea validated. What's next?
It's time to build your online presence.
So create a website, get on social media, all that good stuff.
Exactly, and start connecting with potential customers.
Okay. What about staying organized?
All those productivity tools we talked about earlier are super helpful for entrepreneurs too.
So Trello, Asana, Toggle, all those.
Exactly.
Okay, this is all great. But I'm sure there are some unique challenges to running a business as a digital nomad. What are those?
Finding reliable Wi-Fi is even more crucial when you're running a business.
Yeah, that makes sense. What else?
Time zones can be tricky when you're working with clients all over the world.
Right. And it must be hard to stay focused when your office could be a beach one day and a coffee shop the next.
It can be. This guide talks about the importance of finding that balance between freedom and structure.
So embrace the freedom, but stay disciplined.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to do it all alone.
True. There's a whole community of digital nomad entrepreneurs out there.
Exactly. Connect with them, learn from them, support each other.
Love that. Okay. This has been an amazing deep dive. We've covered so much, from landing a remote job to starting your own business. It's clear that the digital nomad life is full of opportunities.
It is, but it's not without its challenges.
True.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to put in the work and embrace the adventure, the rewards can be incredible.
I completely agree.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of digital nomadism.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember, if you're ready to start exploring those amazing travel deals we mentioned earlier, be sure to check out the episode description.
Safe travels.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep chasing those dreams.